Hey guys, my name is Melanie and I make faith-based content here. So I gave up secular music for 30 days and I'm going to tell you why I did that and also what happened. Now, if you are watching this video, I want you to first know that I have no judgment if you listen to secular music, if you love secular music, that is okay. I have loved me some Taylor Swift, some Justin Bieber, some Drake, some Bad Bunny, and I have changed after this 30-day secular music fast. The reason why I did this fast is because I watched a podcast with Jackie Hill Perry and Tim Ross, and I'm going to link it down below so that you can watch it as well. And as I was listening to it, I just felt like the Holy Spirit just told me, stop listening to secular music, just stop completely. And I felt it so strongly that I just immediately deleted all of my playlists except for my wedding playlist, because that one just felt just very sentimental to me. And everything else, though, I deleted, and now I mainly just listen to worship music and Christian music. And the times that I've attempted to listen to secular music, I'm going to share what happened later on in this video. But I'm going to share some of the things that I noticed immediately or within those 30 days of me stopping listening to secular music. So I'm doing this video so that you could consider doing the challenge and see how secular music could potentially have an influence on you. So within the first few days, the first thing that I noticed is that songs that were constantly playing in the background of my head were completely gone, which I think is pretty wild. I never noticed this before, but I've always had a song playing in the back of my head, and something I just sing throughout the day. It just comes up randomly, and it's just like a constant sound in the back of my mind. And I love music, and so I love singing, even though I'm not like a singer. I have always played a song in the back of my head. And so within the first 3 days, that was completely gone. I felt like this really allowed me to have greater focus, to pay more attention to what was actually happening around me, and to be more present instead of having this song like continuously playing in the back of my head. The second thing I noticed is that I felt like I had more of a sound mind. I didn't feel as anxious. I didn't feel as emotional or get upset or stressed. I felt like I was able to really think more clearly about what was happening in my life. I noticed I had more positive thoughts. I had less racing thoughts, and I was able to make decisions a lot better because I wasn't anxious or frustrated or thinking about all these different thoughts that would cause me to make a different decision. The third thing that I noticed is I felt like I was more in tune with God's Spirit. I felt like He was with me. I felt His love. I felt His embrace. I felt like His presence was nearer to me than other times. And probably because I was more basking in the worship music, I felt like God gave me even more direction on steps to take, things that I should do, and even just making daily decisions felt so much easier. I felt like God was really leading me because I was more in His presence than before. The fourth thing that I noticed is that worship became so much more beautiful. I remember several times when I was in the car, especially within those first 30 days, and it still happens today, but especially within those first 30 days, I would hear a lyric that maybe I hadn't noticed before, maybe I have heard, but God would highlight it to me, and I would just tear up, and I would break out in spontaneous worship. And I had such incredible moments with God during that time, and I think in and of itself, that is a good reason to give up secular music. If you really want to hear God's voice, if you want to experience Him in a new way, this might be the thing that you could give up for 30 days and just see how God might show up. The fifth thing that I noticed is I just felt more creative. As I was driving and I was going about my day, I felt like thoughts just came so much easier. Creative thoughts, ideas, strategies, things that I have never thought about came very easily to my mind, and I knew exactly how I wanted to implement it and do it. The sixth thing I noticed giving up secular music is that I became so much more self-aware of my thoughts and my emotions. And like I shared, the first point was, that I had a song constantly playing in the back of my head, and not having that made me so much more aware of the thoughts that are going on in my head or the emotions that I'm feeling. Because with that song's playing in the back of my head, it might be actually like egging on those emotions or thoughts or anxieties. And because I didn't have that song playing in my head, I had my thoughts playing in my head, and I was able to decipher better what God was speaking to me about those thoughts and emotions. Number 7 is that I felt a greater desire to spend time with God. It impacted my relationship with God, and I think that's a great reason to do a 30-day secular music challenge. But I do want to share this, that after 30 days, it's probably been longer than 30 days, I'm going to listen to some secular music, just because I was kind of sick of listening to some of the same Christian songs that I was listening to. So I was driving, I was on my way somewhere, I was playing secular music, and I had this thought pop into my head. And it was a very scary thought of, world-ending type of scenario, right? And it was like all these anxious thoughts started coming into my head. And I was like, whoa, where did this come from? Why am I feeling this way? This is so weird. And I was starting to feel scared, and I was driving, and I wanted to pull over and stop driving and just go back home and deal with my anxieties. But I just realized, okay, I'm playing secular music. Let me just turn it into worship music. Let me change the music. Let me start praying. Let me start worshiping. And immediately after that, I just felt so full of faith, and I just felt so full of God's presence that I have not gone back to secular music after that. And I'm not saying that secular music in and of itself causes those things. Obviously lots of different things can cause those things, but the music that we listen to does impact our mood, our soul, our desires, our emotions. And I think that's what I learned from this challenge. And I want to know, would you do a 30-day secular music challenge? Does that interest you? What makes you weary of wanting to do that? Let me just say that if you give up secular music for 30 days, it doesn't mean that you're not going to miss that music. It doesn't mean that you're not going to stop liking that music. I still like those artists. I still like their music, but I realize that it's just not good for my soul, my mind, or my emotions. And so I've completely stopped doing it. And I really felt like the Spirit led me to do that. But if you still listen to it, no judgment here. It's totally okay. But I want to challenge you to try it out and see what God speaks to you within those 30 days.